Do you want to look at foods that are healthy? Do you want to look at foods that are convenient? Or do you want to look at foods that are affordable? You can't have all three all the time. So try to choose 2 out of those 3. But if most of the time we're going to choose health as one of those 2 components, it's always going to be a better option.
Good day. Welcome to Ripple's Physician's Wellbeing, a space to discuss coping with stressors while training in the field of medicine and tips for overall wellness.
Learn more about the wellness home services at GMEWellness.UTHSCA.edu. And don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with new episodes wherever you enjoy podcasts. Hello. Welcome back. And thank you so much, Vina. Last month's episode got the most views, the most likes, and the most listens in our short history.
That's right.
So we're very thankful to our audience for that. And we do this with the hopes that we can offer you important, relevant, and practical information to take care of their wellness. So this is the best for us, that people are actually listening and hopefully putting into practice.
Sure, we take message to them and in the hopes that they would use it.
Yep.
Yes. Today I'm so excited to invite our friend, Mrs. Vijaya Botla. She is the president of Alamo Nutrition Consultants and the lead clinician. She is very passionate to do things in the community. She's always involved in healthy eating, things like that.
Thank you so much, Vina, and thank you, Adriana, for having me here today.
Thank you.
As you know, we are exploring the ways in which we offer well-being for our residents, and we help them in their journey into wellness. We want to know from you how residents can use ways in which they can feel comfortable in eating that's healthy. So I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
Yes. So the first one is, in your practice, I know you see a lot of residents, and you also mentioned medical students and physicians. What are some common concerns? And the follow-up question I also say is, you know how stressful medical school and residency, that's the hardest part of being a physician. So all our residents say that, we don't have time to eat healthy. We don't have time. We'll eat whatever we get our hands on. So what can they do to eat healthy, still go through that stressful period?
Yes, and I think that's an excellent question, especially since 2020. I think that stress has compounded, tenfold. And, whatever lifestyle changes they made during 2020 has only continued, even though, things might have changed, some things have become more lax with, our society. I think that those eating habits have not changed. And a lot of times, under high stress situations, a lot of times, especially healthcare workers, they're going to put their personal needs to the back burner. So they will skip meals and things like that because they don't have time. They always want to put the health, and well-being of their patients before themselves, or their studies before themselves for medical students. And so I think that that's a huge thing. And so then when they do finally get time to eat, they're probably overeating, and they're probably eating foods that are convenient and readily available. And a lot of times those foods are high in fat, high in salt, high in sugar, or sometimes a combination of all of those. Yes. And so it's very difficult. So whenever I talk to people, I always try to tell them, you want to look at 3 things. Do you want to look at foods that are healthy? Do you want to look at foods that are convenient? Or do you want to look at foods that are affordable? You can't have all 3 all the time. So try to choose 2 out of those 3. So if it's healthy and convenient, guess what? It's probably not going to be affordable, which means you're going to probably have a meal service or, go to a restaurant or a store that sells prepared foods that are more nutrient dense. Or if it's healthy and affordable, it's probably not convenient. So you're going to have to do a lot of meal prepping at home and make your own foods, purchase that, the ingredients to make this food. Or if you want something that's affordable and convenient, it's probably not going to be healthy. That's more like fast food, So, but none of those 3 options are bad, because we do that all the time. And I think that's normal not to feel guilty about doing that. But if most of the time we're going to choose health as one of those 2 components, it's always going to be a better option. And if we kind of go into that mindset, like don't guilt yourself or feel bad about, eating out more, just try to change it and see how we can do that.
And I love that you're talking about guilt, because that was my question for the next question.
So many people have it.
Yeah, we have developed this shame and guilt around food, and that from the mental health perspective can cause a lot of trouble. So I just wanted to hear from you more specific advice about that. How do we develop a healthy relationship with food?
And so the first thing is, like we had mentioned, not feeling guilty about that. But it's really like, just like we tell our patients, hey, you have to put your health, in the forefront. We're our worst patients,
Yes,
many times
so
physicians
so
are,
true.
are the worst patients. They don't always practice what they preach. So really making time for yourself, like, just like with Dr. Koshik, making that 1 minute of time, to take care of ourselves, just like that. If you just kind of think on those days that you have off, hey, if I do a little bit of prep right now, it would make my life so much easier on the days that I'm busy, like if you get, vegetables or fruit, wash them. Have them prepped, have them in the refrigerator, ready to go. So when you get home, you're not like, there's nothing to eat. There's food, but not food I can eat right away, And so if you're meal prepping, and meal prepping, people think it's exhausting, but it can be very easy. You can buy vegetables that are pre-chopped if that's really a thing. That's still cheaper than going out and purchasing something. And so, just coming up with a plan. Maybe you like certain foods, Not everybody loves fruits and vegetables, but you can, incorporate the fruits and vegetables that you do like, and just add and still eat healthy, and then always we want to look at, does my meal, like when you're eating out, does it have like a complex carb? Does it have a good source of protein? Does it have a healthy fat? If it has those 3 components, I think you're doing a good job.
I love that you're saying that, because I remember when I moved to this country and saw for the first time, chopped vegetables and chopped fruit, I felt guilty buying them, but sometimes that makes your life easier.
It tastes so much better, and it makes you better,
Yes.
And along that same thing, like sometimes we'll buy fresh fruits and vegetables with the best of intentions. All it takes is one moldy blueberry to ruin the whole pack,
And that's
and then you're like, I'm never going to buy these blueberries again. I spent like $5. So,
That is
I
so
highly
true.
encourage people, get frozen fruits and vegetables then, because frozen is still a good option. They're picked and usually frozen within 24 hours of picking, so you can still have those, and usually those don't go bad. So those are a great options. I always try to give my patients, even if they say, all I have is canned vegetables, a lot of canned vegetables now come in no salt added, so you can buy a healthier version of, a lot of these. Do we encourage that? Not as much. But if that's your only option, 100% I agree with it.
Many times we think that, oh my God, I have to eat canned food, but occasionally it's okay to eat canned food and you can still eat healthy. And I also would like you to tell us about, how to eat on a budget, which you kind of already alluded to.
Yes.
But if somebody says, oh, at residency, we don't make a lot of money, how am I going to, I don't have time to meal prep, but can I buy some food, maybe ready microwave meals, and then is that still healthy to eat? And I'll also add a follow-up question. It's important that, some people go through their comfort food, that when they're stressed out, and that can be their ethnic diet.
Yes.
And that is another thing. They say, well, if I have to eat my diet, my food, ethnic food, I cannot eat healthy. So can they do that and still eat healthy and just go back to our comfort?
Well, that's a big question that you asked.
I know.
So we'll just take it step by step,
Yes.
in that affordability. My daughter is a resident right now, and she always looks at that, like, hey, I'm not making a lot of money. People might think that. And so she always kind of looks for that. And I always tell people, meal prepping can be hard, but you cook once and you eat like 3-4 times. So in the long run, it really does save you a lot of time, and a lot of times if you don't want to eat the same thing over and over, I'll tell people, make something, or at least have the ingredients ready so that you can do, like an omelet. An omelet is so easy to make. You have eggs, you have your vegetables pre-cut, boom, just add them in there, and you have, a good source of protein. Also hummus, hummus is a great ethnic food that we just
That's
talked
true.
about. Like I was telling Vina before the show, like, who knew 10 years ago that hummus would be like something normally that we talk about,
right?
that it's a
Amazing.
common food now,
Yes.
and that's an ethnic food that is a wonderful source of vegetarian protein,
Yes.
and it's very easy. You can put that on a whole grain wrap, add some, baby spinach or cucumbers and roll it up, and boom, you have a complete meal.
I actually love buying the cauliflower that comes already pre-cut.
Yes.
And I eat it with the hummus.
Yes.
And it's
It's
my
wonderful.
And it's
go-to snack.
And it's a wonderful thing, and it's the same way, and it's very affordable.
Yes.
and, you can even make hummus. It is actually very affordable to make it as well. And then you know exactly what ingredients you're putting. But buying it, one of these like nutrient dense foods, I highly recommend it. Our resident population now is also very international. So we're seeing, all these foods
That's
that
very
come,
true.
like who knew what lentils were? Now, at Costco, I can buy a box that says Madras lentils on it, and it's a common food. And so these kinds of lentils are a wonderful source of protein and very, very affordable, and it's very easy to cook as well. And they last beautifully, in the refrigerator. You can freeze them as well after you cook them. So lentils, any type of, beans, a lot of,
that's true.
Beans are not only used in Indian culture, they're used in Middle Eastern culture, South American culture. So beans, again, are a wonderful source. And if you don't really want to cook them, you can easily buy them canned as well, and drain them, wash them a little bit if they're salted. If they're not, they're a wonderful source. Of course, cooking everything from scratch is, our number one thing, but convenience and affordability, a can of beans is $1. I mean, what costs $1 nowadays? Not even, there's no dollar menus anymore. Even the Dollar Tree is $1.25.
Exactly.
So I just always tell people there's a lot of affordable foods that are still very ethnically because they provide so much comfort for us. Eating like, I'm Indian, so eating like dal, which is like a lentil with rice, is like such a comfort food for us. And it's a complete protein. It is a complete meal. It has a complex carb. It has, it has a protein source and has healthy fats. I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff that people don't realize that we can do, and kind of going around that ethnic foods, exploring those things, going out and finding foods. I don't know if a lot of people have ever tried anjura bread. It's like an Ethiopian bread, and it's a fermented bread, so it is a probiotic, and it's gluten-free because it's made with teff flour, and it's pretty affordable. There's a local store here called Alibaba right here at I-10 and Wurzbach that sells it. So it's a great way to try, something new thing. They use it in, ethnically with their stews, with their meats and other stuff. So maybe if you're making like some kind of, dish, you can have it as another source and trying new foods out. And that's actually very healthy. It's a great source of protein. It's a great source of fiber, and it's gluten-free. And a lot of people who are doing that, it's just something, and it has a sour taste, so it's a great probiotic as well. So it's just all these things that people don't realize that are right here available to us. That we don't really know. So I hope that people will open up themselves to trying new foods as well, because I think it expands our palate.
Right?
And you never know what you're gonna find, because I'm not Indian, but Indian food is my comfort food.
Yes.
I love it. Vina knows. Before I was working here in San Antonio, I used to come and text Vina, where should I go eat? We love Indian food, and I had never tried it until I moved to the United States, and it turns out that it's one of my favorites. So
and now
it's
much more, acceptable, a lot of these foods. I think at one time, I think Chinese and Mexican were the only two, and Taco Bell was the only form of Mexican food. Now we have so many places that we're getting more regional kinds of foods, and we're opening up ourselves, that it's not all just a tortilla and cheese, and beans. Not that that's anything bad, but there are so many other ethnic varieties of South American foods.
And I hear you saying that, Vijaya, and I hear you, talking about mixed complex carbs and proteins and things. So what do you think about these diets that are, concentrating all on fat, or don't eat any fat and eat all carbs?
So this is my take on anything. So if this is a way of eating that you can do forever, then it's the right diet for you. But I think when you are restricting a complete food group, how long is that sustainable for? It might work, for the short term, but I'm always looking at long term. Long term is really where we want to be. And if it's something, if you can't eat bread for the rest of your life and you're okay with that, then more power to you. I can't do that. So I like to have everything.
You want variety.
So really, I want to try to teach people, moderation. You can have anything you want, but you have to eat it in a way, and really always try to look for nutrient-dense foods. Nutrient-dense foods are what you want to concentrate the majority of the time on. If you are eating that 80% of the time, the 20% that you're wanting a cookie or a brownie, it's not going to make a difference.
How do we recognize those nutrient-dense foods?
So a good way for us to do is, looking for foods that are really high in fiber. The average American only eats about 6 to 9 grams of fiber a day. And really, we need to be eating 25 to 35 grams.
Wow.
That is a huge gap.
That's a big gap.
That's a big gap. And so how do we do that is really you want to look for those foods that are good fiber sources. So those are going to be things like, whole grains, even popcorn is considered a whole grain.
Yeah.
Popcorn, wheat bread, oatmeal, fruits, fruits, especially with the skin that you eat, are really high in fiber. Vegetables are a good fiber source. Things like beans, kidney beans, garbanzo beans, black beans, great source of fiber. Chia seeds are also another one. So you want to try to incorporate some source of fiber into your diet. Every meal, just to ask yourself, hey, how can I add fiber to this? So it might be, having a piece of fruit with your breakfast, and then at lunch, maybe it's having, some veggies in there. And at night, what do you think is another good source of fiber to add in? It could be like a whole grain pasta, or something else like that. Sometimes it can be a mix of three. Like I love to tell people, think about doing like overnight oats for breakfast. It's a quick and easy meal. You don't have to cook it. You mix these ingredients at night and magically overnight you get
That's
breakfast.
True.
Yeah. And so,
easy to do it.
Yeah, and you can do it multiple times. And so, you have oats in there. Sometimes I'll tell people to add chia seeds and then maybe some fruit. And guess what? You have probably a super fiber packed meal with, sometimes between 14 and 16 grams of fiber
in
just one meal.
Yeah.
And you've already met almost your entire goal from that one meal. You are starting off on the right foot. So it's very easy to do. You just have to kind of think to yourself, hey, if I don't have fiber in this meal, how can I get it? And that's a great way to start, kind of making small changes that it has a ripple effect. I love using that term.
Exactly.
I've been waiting to say that all day.
Be mindful about
Yes,
it. And
yes.
then ripple effect. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
this is great.
This is so motivating, believe it or not, because I think I go through these wages in which I'm doing my best to eat as healthy as possible, and then stress life gets
and
in the
as
way,
physicians, and healthcare workers in general, we're always treating the disease, chronic disease, after it's happened. Why don't we think about preventing it? Like, start these kinds of habits now so that we don't lead to diabetes. We don't have chronic heart disease and all that. I don't think that's sometimes everybody's concern, but if making even one small change, you're going to change the course of your life and health later on.
And Vijaya, I know among all the other hats you wear, you also run marathons. And in a way, residency, even medical school, is similar to running a marathon.
Absolutely.
It's so much endurance you need. And then you can say that, how do I keep myself healthy? And also in the track of being well-being, what are some things you can recommend? You already talked about it, but in terms of food, what are some things that can help you
fueling
sustain?
your body correctly is going to get you through. If you are not eating the right foods during your training, during the race, you are not going to finish that race, or you're going to feel horrible at the end of it, and recovery is going to be very, very slow.
Sure.
So that same way, really fueling your body, the right way when you are in stressful situations. And along with that, a lot of times that people don't realize that exercise is one of the best antidepressants, out there that we don't utilize at all, and so think about, starting something like, start an exercise. Like you were just mentioning that you did yoga right before this and you look fabulous right now. So that tells you can do it and still look fabulous 30 minutes later, really be mindful of small changes that you can make for your overall health. I don't think, I constantly kind of harbor back to that, is that we are very short-sighted. We just want to get through the today. We just want to get through this week. We don't look at the long-term effects, but I really do feel like, think about, can I on Sunday, if I'm not working, can I do a little something extra, an hour extra, carve it out to get ready for that week so that I'm making better choices. Have staples in your pantry that you can always pull from. Have oatmeal, have canned beans, have your refrigerator stocked with, frozen vegetables and fruits, if that's something as a backup for what you don't have. Have eggs, eggs are a very easy and affordable. All of these foods that I'm talking about are relatively, maybe not so much now eggs, but in general, they're still very affordable. You can have a lot of really good foods. Have the hummus and thing. Those things don't go bad very quickly. So have these foods ready so that in case something happens, You know,
Yes.
you
Oh,
have
you're
that
so
fallback.
motivating,
Yeah,
Vijaya.
have it at fallback. Yes.
Yes.
So Vijaya, you have given us so many tips, but we like to end this podcast episode with one tip that is what we call the pebble, right? You
Yes.
throw the pebble in the water, that creates the ripple effect. So what are you leaving with us today? What is that pebble that you're throwing in the water?
So I've been thinking about this, and I think a great pebble maybe that we can do is walk ourselves through how to create a good meal, a nutrient-dense meal.
yes.
So let's start off with breakfast, you know, which is, you know,
Yes.
a lot of times what a lot of people might want to skip, but something quick and easy that we can do. So think about, you know, having a complex carbonate, a good source of protein, and healthy fat. Because remember, and a bonus is to have fiber in it. So think about getting, for a good, quick, and easy breakfast might be cooking an egg, you know, putting it on a piece of whole grain bread and putting some avocado on it. That has a complex
yes.
carb,
I can
an
imagine.
egg,
Yes, that's
and
already
avocado.
looking
And if we're
good.
looking for a vegetarian option, it could be the slice of bread with some peanut butter and then having a piece of fruit. And then the peanut butter acts as the protein and the healthy fat. And then you have the bread, and then your extra fiber is going to be the fruit. So that's a very easy, quick, and easy way to do it. You know, if you think in those terms, it's so easy to build, you know, a healthy diet.
That is wonderful,
That
Vijaya.
is,
Thank you
yes.
so much.
Oh,
This has
it
been
was so wonderful to
motivating.
be here with you.
Wonderful
Thank
way
you,
to-
Vina. Thank you,
Yeah,
Adriana,
thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much.
So you all heard it. Now go and create some ripples.
Some ripples.
Ripples Physicians Wellbeing is made possible by the Joe R. and Teresa Lozano Long School of Medicine Office for Graduate Medical Education. To contact us or learn more about the Wellness Home, visit GMEWellness.UTHSCA.edu.
This podcast is inspired by the Dalai Lama's powerful quote. Just as ripples spread out when a single pebble is dropped into water, the actions of individuals can have far-reaching effects. We provide physicians with pebbles, tangible and actionable practices that can help make positive impacts in their personal and professional lives.